You built a business people love, but behind the scenes, it's all on you. Vision to Grow is your space to lead with clarity, hire with purpose, and finally breathe again. I'm Kristie, your no-fluff leadership expert, here to help you hire better and lead teams with less mess. Hello and welcome back to Vision to Grow. I am Kristie. I am the host of the Vision to Grow podcast, and I'm also the CEO and founder of Grow Advantage. Now, we're in a really exciting season in Grow Advantage, a bit of a hustle season. Absolutely, it's been a bit of a hustle season. So we are sort of early mid-November when this podcast is dropping, but in October, it has been wild. So launching a new website, launching new services. We transitioned from a sole trader to a company. I hired 2 new staff. We brought on lots of additional clients. We had return clients come back. And then on the personal side, it was wild. And I've talked a lot about that in previous episodes. But today I want to talk about hustle energy because I don't very often. Now, my role as a fractional integrator and a COO is to keep it more calm energy, more sustainable, more easeful, and focusing on that continuous improvement piece, right, for my visionary clients. However, I have more recently been talking about our new services, which is the fractional integrator and operations support partnership. But today I want to talk about when you are in hustle mode and how you can utilize it and what support you might need. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about hustle energy, because over here at Grow Advantage, we don't roll our eyes always at hustle. We just give it boundaries and better lighting. So sometimes you need high energy and get it done. Like sometimes that's just where you're at, right? You might just be in that season at the moment. And it doesn't have to be toxic and it doesn't have to be a red flag. Well, not the way we do it anyway. It's just business momentum and doing what it does best. So moving that little bit faster. The trick is learning how to channel that hustle energy before it burns you out. So we talk a lot about energetics on this podcast. It's because it's so important, right? And the research actually backs this up. So 70% of millennial entrepreneurs say short-term hustle seasons are actually what help them get through plateaus. And this is in a study in entrepreneurial behavior and research, which also found that strategic hustle, so little bursts of high energy, result in amazing action. And this is directly tied to businesses when they're in a scale season of their business. So hustle doesn't have to be the villain. It can actually be a massive accelerator. You just don't want to live in hustle forever, right? It needs to be a season. It needs to be planned. It needs to be strategic. And I highly recommend you harnessing that with support with someone who's going to see it externally from you. So in this episode, I'm taking you behind the scenes of 3 powerhouse founders I've worked with recently, Eva, Julia, and Kristie, who were deep in their own hustle seasons. And they absolutely weren't failing. I think they reached out to me when they were feeling very overloaded. Their businesses were flying on the outside, but they knew that in order to keep growing, they needed to match the structure to their speed. So all 3 businesses that established, because some younger than others, but in demand. So they were getting the demand for their services, but struggling to keep up with it because of the structure. And 2 of the women were from teaching backgrounds, which I love. Very, very capable, but definitely aware that it was all on them. So let's dive into today's episode. It is a really powerful one, and I'm so excited to share with you. So look, hustle energy, when it actually works, planning's great, right? But you can't systemize something that doesn't exist yet. I'm going to say that again. You can't systemize something that doesn't exist yet. So sometimes you got to move relatively quickly, right? And that's okay. When you're hiring, onboarding, or scaling your business, it's the planning that actually is the work, especially because you're trying to do the thing, you're trying to do the day-to-day work, and then you know that you've got to set time aside for the systems. It can feel quite hard and quite confronting. And that takes a bit of hustle, let's be honest. It's that kind of high vibe, sleeves rolled up, let's fix this energy. That can be an absolute game changer if it's managed in the right way. It's not chaos, it's creation if you do it strategically. But here's the deal. It only works if you give it a container, right? So I know this is you, right? I've talked about this before. Like there's that many boss babe CEO women who are like, I've got Monday as my CEO day. I've got Monday morning as my strategy session. But when does that ever actually happen, right? You've got it blocked out in your diary, but then you're like floating over to your emails. You've got those invoices to pay. You've got to pay your team. And that Monday just slips away. Like you sit down at your desk at 9:00 and then you're like, holy crap, it's 1:00 and I need to eat. And then I've got to pick up the kids from school and all the things. And you're like, that was my day. That was my day to move the needle forward. And yet it didn't happen. You need to give it a container. If you're building a new process, a new system, it can't just fit in your day-to-day life. And that is what VIP has done for these 3 women. So it's going to channel your energy into something tangible. If you are hiring, if you're going on a massive recruitment drive, something tangible is not just, I want to hire. We need to break down all of the steps. So what does the end-to-end hiring process look like? It looks like designing roles, writing job descriptions, writing job adverts, understanding where they're going to go up, shortlisting, screening. When you interview them, the interview guides, what it's going to look like to onboard those new starters, to train them. We're talking hiring funnels. We're talking about, that is just the team side of it, right? If you've got an in-demand business and you're hiring team to service the delivery of that service, then you've got the demand for the service, which comes from the client. And I just talked about the hiring part, which is the supply, right? You need the supply to service the demand. But you've got to be really clever about how you manage that in conjunction, right? It happens at a similar time. So I just talked about the supply side, the actual bits and pieces of hiring team, writing job descriptions, all of those things. And then what about the demand side, right? So the demand, we need to harness that too. We need to make sure that we're saying, hey guys, we've got spots coming up. We're ramping up team. We can deliver more. And you're in demand, right? People already know that you're amazing in your services and you're getting referrals and boom, you've probably got people on your wait list. But how do we make that work together? How do we harness that together? So you need the supply and the demand. You need a strategy. You need to put it together. We can hustle, but we need a freaking plan and a space to do that. And you need support most likely if you're drowning and you're just stuck in the weeds. Your hustle can actually build capacity instead of you just chewing through it bit by bit and feeling really freaking burnt out, right? So I want to talk to you about Eva. So I said I was going to give you the 3 clients. So Eva, I've talked about her before. She's come on the podcast, but she runs a luxury home cleaning business in Melbourne. And when she came to me, she had 12 staff, endless demand. So cleaning businesses are like that. Who doesn't want an amazing cleaner, right? Like if you've got the means to hire a cleaner, you're hiring a cleaner. And especially ones with great reputations, which Eva had. And her brand mission was so clear. Eva's story is so amazing about why she wanted to set up that cleaning business. And she talked about on the podcast. You can find that episode. It's incredible. Eva is an interesting one. So I would say mostly it's visionaries that work with me, particularly in our done for you services, like your fractional integrator and operations partnership service that I've been talking a lot more about recently. They are the people who come into that are real visionaries. Like they don't want to handle ops. Eva's interesting because she's got such a strong background in like project management, events. She's good at operations, but what she truly, truly loves is more of that true visionary work, right? And because she is extremely clever and competent, she became the glue in that business. So she had the 12 cleaning staff, but she was doing everything operationally. So she was doing all the quoting, all the invoicing, all the scheduling. She was the go-to point of contact for the client fires, and she was managing her team. And she came to me initially, or I heard about Eva initially, is because she said, I think I want a VA. And I was like, no, you don't want a VA. We need to understand firstly where this business is going. What's your vision? What do you want to do? And then what support do you need to make you happy so the business can keep going? You're not feeling like you're drowning. You're not stepping into clean houses every time a cleaner takes a leave because there's no plan. So we established really quickly she needed structure. She actually came to me at the start of the Easter school holidays and she wasn't taking a holiday. She was getting dragged back into client inquiries and she just said, I can't keep going like this. You know, I really need the support. So we chatted extensively before her VIP day. And where I spent a lot of time initially was redefining her CEO role. So Eva was quite clear about the direction she wanted the business to go in. She wants to expand. She wants more subsidiaries of her business. So cleaning as the primary one and then additional services. Very much a visionary, really ideas focused. She's incredible in the room. She can speak so clearly about her vision, and she loves sales. She loves pitching. And although she is very passionate about managing a team, she just saw how unsustainable it was to do that all on her own as it grew. So we worked really hard to redefine her CEO role. And then we hired her, not one VA, but we hired her an offshore VA, which is more cost effective for her, and then an onshore Australian operations assistant. And that operations assistant came in to sit between the client demand and the team. So with cleaning businesses, obviously you've got a lot of client inquiries. You need to set them up. You need to set up payments, and then you need to match them to cleaners. Eva's business, they have 2 cleaners going into one job at a time, typically. So that is a lot of scheduling, a lot of planning, in my opinion, was one role. And that's what I said to Eva. I said, look, at the moment you're doing your role, you're sometimes cleaning, you're doing an operations assistant role, and you're doing an offshore VA. That's why it feels icky. She was on board with that. She bit the bullet. She hired those roles. I said to her then, very quickly, to cover those costs, you need to hire more cleaners, right? So what I love about cleaning businesses is the math is so simple. Let's say your clean is 1 hour, right? And I'm not talking about Eva's business specifically. I'm talking generally. I'm making it really simple in terms of the numbers. So let's say the service for a clean for 1 hour is $100, and your costs to deliver that service are $50 an hour, right? So maybe you're paying your team member $37 an hour, and it's like $13 for the cleaning products. And then you measure all of the delivery, like your website costs, your insurances, your operations staff, right? And you average that across. So you know that your cost to deliver is $50 an hour, and you know that you charge $100 an hour. So that means if you had 100 hours booked of cleaning, your revenue would be $10,000 and your profit will be $5,000, right? That's why I've made those round numbers, just to keep it really simple. So if you were thinking $100 worth of cleans per week, that's like 2.5 full-time staff. Most cleaners, they don't work full-time. They work part-time. So let's say you need 100 hours, that's 5 20-hour members of staff, right? So that's why that operations role is so important. There's a lot of scheduling. But what I'm saying is Eva already had 12 staff, and we wanted to scale her. So she was making over and above that in terms of revenue. We just needed to make sure she had a really good scale plan and that she could keep hiring, essentially. So then it became really important that I built her a really strong recruitment process and pipeline. So we went through her existing process. We fine-tuned that. We wrote job adverts. We gave her a process. We gave her an onboarding system. We designed the onboarding system, and she went and operationalized that, but she had a full plan of what it looked like to hire and what it looked like to build demand for the cleaning services. And the cleaning isn't the nature of that is that you have the cleaner, you tell the demand and the public out there, like, hey, we can offer services in this suburb of Melbourne, that suburb of Melbourne, it gets booked. So, and she knew that. She felt confident in that, which was half the battle. A lot of the time, if you're not confident in the demand, you feel real nervous when you're going and doing these big hiring pieces, but she was not. We then documented her team rhythms, and we looked at how to refine client communications for the changes that were happening. We wanted to put everyone on direct debits to make sure that the cash flow was tight. So it was massive, that VIP day, and she got so much out of it. A few weeks later, she'd hired the team, and her big goal was to book a holiday. She sends me photos from her holidays. Like, it happens. Cleaning's a tough business. Like, you've got to keep always hiring. You do have like certain challenges in terms of, you're going into people's homes, but it's extremely scalable and very, very lucrative. So I've got a whole episode on that. Incredibly powerful. But essentially, if we look at results for Eva, within 30 days, she's freed 20 to 25 hours a week. That time was gone from her plate, right? Her team was humming and her stress was gone. Now, she, like I said, her and her team have got to keep working at this business. It's not an easeful business, but we gave her time back and we made it someone else's job so that she can focus on building the other arms and legs of the business, making sure that the website's tight, working on the business in the CEO role, showing up, talking about it, networking, all the things that she does amazing. And Eva had said to me, I thought I was hiring help, but what I actually got was freedom. And that is what VIP day gives you. So I love Eva's story. I do reference it quite a bit because it's amazing. Another client I worked with in VIP Day was Julia. So Julia was running a thriving education and coaching business. She had membership, courses, absolutely massive reach on Instagram, lots and lots of followers. And her business had been going for some time and it makes really good money. But every piece of delivery was still running through her. So in her one day intensive, we got really focused on what sat with Julia, what sat with VAs, and then if we were going to bring additional digital creators on, what would that look like? We also got super focused on Julia's CEO role. I think one of my favorite parts of the day was like I was in there writing her job description. She could see that and mapping out her diary and her time. And she could see me like live doing that. And she was like, oh my God, that job. I want to apply for that job. And I'm like, babe, that's your job. Like, we're making this happen, right? We built her a full hiring system, an onboarding system. And then I implemented Slack. So I put Slack in, set it all up with the channels for her and her team. So her small team could communicate together. And I really put the team already there. I really looked at what they did and ensured that they had real ownership of their roles, taking more and more off of Julia's plate, right? We designed her social strategy for hiring. So she had an amazing Instagram presence. I was like, right, we need to put hiring in there too and make it a part of your story so that she could attract that next key team member. And by the end of VIP Day, she had an entire hiring and team management framework. So she was no longer the bottleneck. She wasn't getting pinged on various systems like WhatsApp, email, text message, phone call. It was all managed through Slack. Really, really clear. And in her words, she said, I finally feel like the leader of my own business again. That's what happens when I was able to match her ambition with the structure. So Julia, she was maxed out when she spoke to me. She was quite emotional on the call. She'd been following me for a while and she literally didn't have time to book the call in. And I was like, girl, you need me. And I loved working with her. I'm catching up with her again soon just to see how she's going. She's been to amazing conferences. She's doing incredible things because she's gotten out of the weeds of her business. So such a great story. And then one of my most recent days was Kristie. She is scaling a treatment business and Kristie's really interesting because we've been in touch for over a year. And I was like, when are you going to come and do the damn thing? Like, when are you ready to scale? And she was like, I'm not quite ready. I want to test it. I want to, hire one or two team and get really confident. Again, Kristie's very good with systems. She likes operations. She likes working on the business. I think teachers are really good at that stuff, particularly if they have administration backgrounds. Now, Kristie runs a treatment business for neurodivergent children. And again, her demand was through the roof. So treatment businesses, cleaning businesses, allied health. Demand is not an issue. So she, again, like Alicia, who I talked about last week, she was still teaching. She was managing her tutors. She was running all the administration, all the social media, replying to the parents, all while dreaming of building a multi-service learning center. Like, her goals are big and I'm all for it. So in Kristie's day, in one day, we built the backbone of that future business. So we wrote all of her job descriptions for her tutors, her hiring processes. Sounds a bit familiar. We designed what administration team she would need. And we got really, really focused on what she would do now and in 6 months and in 12 months. We gave her that full hiring workflow with the job descriptions, the job adverts, hiring processes, save replies for the massive volume of response she would get. And then we did the flip side of that again. So we did that for the demand side. We actually then built out a term for marketing plan and revenue calculator, right? So I am not a social media guru, but I can say you need to build this content in your language that talks to this piece. I gave it to her. She's going to refine it, but I know how to write recruitment, social media really well. I've done it for years. And then how they apply, what that looks like. I think one of the biggest things that we did was that revenue calculator. So I kept saying, tell me your numbers. Like, you have, and her tutoring's different. It's not one-to-one. So she has like one tutor and then 4 or 5 students. So I'm like, okay, what do you pay the tutor? What does the space cost? What are your other costs of business? Our business runs quite lean, which is awesome. So then if you have 5 students in a session, how much money do you make? And I was really, really digging that and really, really digging for that information. And I basically built it and said, look, this is where it is now based on what you're telling me. you've got that space. It's got multiple areas. You can run lots of different sessions. And we scaled our way to $1 million business. Like on paper, I was like, this is how it is going to work. And I know it's going to work because I've worked with Alicia. Alicia's always the same thing. The cleaning business is the same thing. You got an in-demand business, as long as you've got the operations and as long as you can hire, as long as you can find humans to deliver those services and look after them, there is no reason it will not scale. So by the end of the day, Kristie had an entire hiring ecosystem built. She knew her numbers and she had given herself. So her big thing was, I want to scale really big in 2026 and I want to take this time to implement your plan, which was incredibly exciting. And I know I'm again catching up with Kristie as well, but I know she's a gun and she will do it. I have no doubt. So watch this space. She's going to do incredible things. And her moves are already mapped. She's transitioning from a maturing business to a learning hub by 2027. So her vision is huge. I would probably bring her on the podcast to talk about it when she's a little bit further down the line. She's right in implementing right now. So I don't think it's the right time, but she's got the structure to hold the vision. So I talk about that a lot. I talk about vision being the mountain you want to climb and clarity is the steps that get you there. So in the first part of VIP day, I do this, I do a questionnaire before. So I've got all their numbers and their info. And then I really, really attack that information. And I think quite often people come into VIP day and they're like, I don't get it. I thought you were just going to write job descriptions. And I'm like, that's the easy part. Been doing it for years, but I want to understand where you're at, where you want to get to, what makes your business different. So I can sell these roles and then I can understand how much demand you can hold with one team member, with 5 team members, with 10 team members. How big do you want to get? And then what do you want to do? And then we make it all hum. I mean, VIP day is massive energy for me, which is why I don't do that many of them because I am pooped afterwards. I absolutely love it, but I can't do that many of them because I give it my absolute all. So going back to the truth about hustle, look, sometimes you're going to have to grind. When you're expanding or building team infrastructure, it's not meant to feel breezy. It's meant to stretch you a little bit. And you can mediate all of those goals on your own if you like. You can navigate all of those goals on your own, right? So you can make a plan. You can say, I want to hire, but until you've actually built the job descriptions, the job adverts, written the onboarding packs, and set up the systems, the growth is not going to happen, right? You need to step away. You need the strategy. You need the plan. You need the actual assets in order to make this happen. And that is when hustle has a purpose, right? When you have a space to do that, and you can do that on your own. You can do it over time. You can block it out on your Monday morning meetings, or you can work with someone who's already got all the strategy and all the frameworks and can literally get it in front of you in a day. A VIP day gives you hustle in your home. So I work with that business owner for 90 minutes in the morning and then I deliver them the end-to-end processes and systems. It turns all of that brilliant energy, all that brilliant ideas, the vision into clarity and actual deliverables with actual assets. Hiring frameworks, communication systems, onboarding assets. And again, I'm going to say clarity, but it's the clarity to breathe again because you know that support and scale is on the way. It's just becomes inevitable. I'm going to talk about the energy equation again. I'm going to talk about energetics again. And I say this all the time. Your business needs to match your energy. And your business should move at the same pace as your nervous system. So there is always time for acceleration. And then there's time to integrate that in. Hustle seasons are beautiful, but you need an exit strategy for them. No one wants to be hustling Monday to Sunday all the time. It's just not sustainable. I'm in hustle season at the moment. You can hear my voice is a bit strained, but it's not lasting forever. I've got a very clear exit and it's already gotten better since I got extra support and extra team, right? It's just numbers on a page. Go all in, build fast and fix what's broken. And then you know that you're going to be able to exhale. But even better is knowing that you're doing it the right way without any doubts. That is sustainable leadership. And that is scaling without sacrifice and without it all being on you. So if you are nodding along, maybe you're in that season right now. Maybe you're like, damn, I know my services are great. I know I'm getting inquiries, but I just simply can't service them because I need some more support. You're in that season, right? The one where you're growing fast, you need to hire, you need to build more systems, and you're failing at keeping all the plates spinning on your own, and that is okay. It's not necessarily that you need to slow down to get perspective. You just need to channel your energy into a strategy and then lock it in. Not what can happen when we're in this hustle energy is we get real like squirrel, like especially our ADA entrepreneurs like me, like you're like, I'm going to do this job description and then I'm going to write this plan for numbers and then I'm going to go after the client demand, and it all becomes really, really reactive, right? Or you could just sit down and smash it out with one day. But unless you've done it before, it becomes really, really tricky, right? I am all hiring, team, leadership, operations. When I'm talking operations, yes, my wider team and now our done for you service, we've got tech people in there. But if you're working with me one-on-one, my zone of genius is hiring, team, leadership. So I'm going to design you high performing teams and I'm going to give you the strategy to get there. Operations, absolutely, when it comes to people. Absolutely. And I can audit your tech and your operations. I'm not going to build it for you. I can put Slack in, right? But if you want to scale and you need to scale with people to deliver your service, that is 100% me. That's exactly what Grow Advantage VIP days are for. It's a full day operational glow up designed for founders in their build season, right? So busy, in demand, service based founders. We've got 4 spots left before December. So I'm going to try for 2. If I can get 3 in November, great. And then there will be only 1 or 2 in December. Like really, I want 4. Like I said, I find it amazing, but I'm pooped afterwards. And we really, really, my team, I say we now because my team get like so excited when I do a VIP day too, because they know how much I love it and how much of the clients froth it, right? But what I know about my VIP days is by the end of the day, you'll have your hiring suite, you'll have all your team comms sorted, and your next phase mapped and ready to run for massive revenue growth, protecting your profit, but also protecting you as CEO and your energy where you don't feel like it's all on you anymore. The booking link for VIP days is in the show notes. I would love to have some podcast listeners onto it. If you want to understand more about it and not just take my word for it, listen to last week's episode with Alicia. Far out, her results are unreal. I will be sharing this week on Instagram more VIP results. So definitely, if you're not following me on Instagram, make sure you are. Details in the show notes, but Instagram is at Kristie, CHRISSY, and then ELLE_. And yeah, come and say hi. Ask about VIP days, ask about the results, and just come and say hi. Like, look, when I'm talking about the services, I always want you to know that you can take these things yourselves. Like maybe you do have a hiring background. Maybe you are feeling confident. Maybe you're happy to sit down and go, okay, goals, numbers, processes, timelines, and you've got the headspace for that and you're really clear. Awesome. What I'm saying is ring fence time to get it done. Don't just think it's going to happen because it's not. You need to put that time aside. And if you don't feel like energetically you want to walk that on your own and you just want to leverage a plug and play processes that we can then tailor to you, that's VIP day. The results speak for themselves. I always love talking about my services, and I freaking love this. When I listen to other people's podcasts, I want to hear how their businesses work, how they deliver their services, because sometimes I'm like, oh, that's fantastic. Like I can use that in my world. So if that resonates with you too, I would absolutely love to hear it. Booking links in the show notes. My socials are in the show notes. Anything else coming up that I want you to know about is in the show notes, so check them out. But thank you so much for joining me today. Let's make your hustle work for you, not against you. Until next time.
Audience exclusive.